Hey there, I'm Jennifer Valor, productivity coach, and your host of the Child Free Biz Cafe, the podcast where child free entrepreneurs redefine success on their terms. In each episode, I sit down with inspiring business owners and creators exploring their unique journeys, challenges, triumphs, and lessons learned. Passionate about the incredible fulfillment of the child free lifestyle, we'll chat over your favorite coffee or tea in our virtual cafe. From entrepreneurs to artists, we uncover secrets. So get ready for insightful conversations, empowering stories, and a community that embraces their life, where fulfillment and happiness meets entrepreneurship. Today, I'm talking with Susan Murray, child free by choice and mind body therapy and coach. She helps you get out and stay out of anxiety, stress, and/or chronic pain and illness, specifically around fibromyalgia, ME/CFS, and chronic fatigue. So by relearning how to tune in and follow your own emotional guidance system. Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for being here.
Hiya, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, someone with chronic illness, I'm especially excited for today. So tell us more about you.
Well, as you said, I'm a kind of therapist and coach, but I call myself a therapeutic coach, and I've done this for about 8 years now. I originally trained in a specific type of therapy that helps people to recover from these chronic conditions. And then I left that because I was adding more kind of tools to my kit. So along with being trained in that, I trained in like NLP and hypnotherapy and a certain type of life coaching, and also kind of brought in all of that sort of stuff to what I was doing already and applied other things that I've been learning in life, things around things like the law of attraction and these types of things, and just kind of pulling everything together. So all my knowledge and experience, and developed my own kind of unique approach, which is based on the mind body connection. So that's pretty much what I do. I do it through one-to-one coaching, and I've also now got, well, I've had a membership for a year and a half or so now as well. And I'm currently creating a self-paced online course as well for people who might want to jump in at that level too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I know I've been following you for a little bit, but I definitely need to get in on one of your programs. So I'm especially excited for the course then, because unlike some people, I actually like to do the course and do the whole thing.
Yeah,
So I'm really excited about that when that comes out.
cool. Good, good.
Yeah. Tell us about your child-free journey.
Well, I it's interesting. I don't really see it as a journey personally. It's just not the way I've ever looked at it. It's just the way that I am and always have been. I decided at about the age of 7 that I didn't ever want to have kids, and I never changed my mind. I think, as most of us child-free by choice people experience, you have been questioned on it
Mhm.
endlessly. But to be honest, I don't get too many questions on it. I've never really been questioned thoroughly on it. I don't get a whole barrage of things, and I think it's around the kind of energy that I answer the first question with.
Mhm.
Do you have kids? Hell no. Or no, absolutely not. Oh, did you never want to have kids? No, never wanted to have kids, never going to have kids. That's the end of it. So there's very much a line drawn underneath that. But it's interesting that since coming out at the age of 30 and then marrying my now wife, I've had much fewer questions around it. And it might be partly an age thing, but I think it's also a little bit more kind of ignorance showing up in people because they make certain assumptions,
Mm,
and it shouldn't really make a difference at all.
right,
That does make a difference in whether I want to have kids or not, and it's got nothing
right.
to do with me not having kids. But I'm not complaining about having fewer conversations about it these days. So
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
I feel like, yeah, maybe that was the thing with me too. I've been lucky that I haven't had a lot of pushback, and the little bit I have was horrible out of left field. Weird. But yeah, maybe it's just the energy. I couldn't figure out why. So when you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, maybe it's just the energy of how I respond to. I love that. And it's surprising how many other child-free people who I've interviewed, how young they were when they knew. They just knew.
Yeah.
I love that too. So how has being child free improved your freedom, your resources, your business, and
I I have it all. I have my freedom. I have resources. I have the business that I want. I think basically you get to do what I want, and I think the biggest thing for me is that I've been able to really get to know who I am and spend this time up until now. I mean, I'm 44 just now, so spending all this time up until now actually going, okay, this is who I am, this is what I truly like, this is me.
mhm,
So I've never had to be kind of had my identity wrapped up in my family life or around having kids and things like that. And I see quite a lot in my clients. So clients that have had kids, the majority of my clients are kind of menopause age and up.
okay.
Seeing younger ones now as well, but
Mm,
we get to a point around that age, and if you've had kids, they've suddenly grown up, they've left home, menopause is hitting, and also it's like, well, who am I now? And
mhm,
women are discovering that they haven't really gotten to know themselves because their life has been so focused on their
right.
kids and their family life and all of that. And then it's a process of discovering who they are. So I feel like I've had the freedom to do that and make the choices that I want to make. Have this kind of business, which it's a risk when you go into this kind of business for yourself and being self-employed. And would I have done that if I had a family to provide for? And also just like designing designing my life around or designing my life, yeah, around the business, but not really around the business, the other way around. So
Mhm,
I get to do what I want. So if I manage to have a day without clients, then we can go out for the day
right.
and go places when everybody else is in school and in work and all of that. So it's nice and quiet. We can travel and go on holidays at the quiet times, avoid all the school holidays and things like that, and get a piece of quiet, bit of peace and quiet.
There's definitely this extreme level of self-awareness that being child-free allows us. Because I feel like I've gotten that and I'm about to hit 40 next year. But people are telling me, yeah, that's usually how you feel in your 40s when I'm already feeling it now in my mid to late 30s. So it feels like my awareness has increased exponentially,
Yeah,
being able to focus on my physical health, my mental health, and everything too.
yeah.
So yeah. And I've definitely seen a lot of parents who kind of lose their identity once they become a parent and
I've actually lost friends because they've become a parent because their life changes beyond recognition and everything is wrapped up in that. And then all your mutual friends that had kids are now getting together and doing the whole like play dates and all that sort of stuff. And there's a bit of them migrating away, but also me migrating away as well. If I show up to your house, it's chaos.
right.
I can't have a conversation. We can't do the things that we used to do. It's quite interesting how many people have kind of migrated away because of just a complete change in their lifestyle. Everything is about the kids, and fair enough. I understand people make that choice, and if that's what they want to do, that I absolutely get that.
Yeah.
People,
But at
you're
some level, like with any relationship, you've got to put in the work too. If you
yeah,
really want to spend time with that person, you've got to make the time, whether you have
yeah,
kids or not.
yeah,
So I've been very lucky. My best friend, she just had her second baby. And I understand things are going to be very different right now, but she still makes this effort for us to hang out, even if it's not that long.
yeah,
And I'll bring my earplugs if I need to. She knows where I stand. She understand each other, and but that's really rare to find too.
yeah. I think that understanding and having that, I think with your self-awareness as well. So I'm kind of going back a wee bit here. I'm a bit older than you, so I'm kind of going back a bit in time and probably before I had the awareness that I have around my own sensory issues and things like
Mhm.
that, and realizing what was happening around busy places or places with lots of
Mhm.
kids and things like that. Now I have the understanding that it's a kind of sensory overload thing and it's just not me. I don't thrive in that kind of environment.
Right.
And if you have that awareness, then maybe you can express that and convey that to understanding people and have
Hmm.
that conversation. But it's quite difficult, I think, when some people maybe don't quite get that. And why should they if you don't even get it? But
Right.
I think a lot of people kind of take offense a little bit when you don't want to always be around kids and their kids. And it's like, well, you love your kids and I love them as well. They're great, but
Yeah.
that doesn't.
In small doses.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah. Yeah. I was upfront with her. I'm like, look, I'm happy to support you in these ways. Don't expect me to change a diaper, but I'm more than happy to cook a meal for you. Just keep an eye on them long enough for you to take a quick nap or something.
yeah,
Like just putting those boundaries in place and just
yeah,
respecting each other's boundaries is really what
yeah,
it comes down to.
absolutely.
So, share with us about how emotional issues can create medical issues, like the stress
Okay,
chemicals, fight or flight mode. Because I know for me, with my particular chronic illnesses, well, one of them happens to be ME, CFS, and dysautonomia. And I am constantly in fight or flight mode.
so from the perspective of my approach, the mind body approach that I use, it's useful to think of us as having two brains. So an emotional brain, which is really our kind of gut, our body level brain, and our thinking brain. And our emotional brain exists to keep us right, to keep us on track. It will send us messages in the form of emotions to let us know how we feel about things. So, okay, we like this, we don't like this. And it's our internal guidance system to go, keep doing more of what you like and less of what you don't like. This is the kind of treatment that feels good to you, that's fine, we'll allow this. It feels bad, so keep away from that. Don't allow that. So, emotional brain is it's a cellular bodily response to our environment and what's happening around us before we think about it. So then those messages get sent to the thinking brain, basically for assessment. We can then think about them and go, oh, okay, we're feeling this way.
Hmm.
This is why we're feeling this way, and then take the appropriate action. Okay, I'm feeling irritated just watching this TV program. Why am I feeling irritated? Well, actually, I'm bored. I'm not enjoying it. Okay, so what do I do? Well, change the channel or turn it off and go and do something else.
Hmm.
So that would be the appropriate action. We're almost conditioned in our society not to do that, not to basically ignore emotions. So what comes from our emotional brain are primary emotions, and then our secondary brain can then generate secondary emotions based on what we think. But those primary emotions are always true and valid, but we're taught to ignore them. Just, well, don't worry about that. Just shove that in the pot, cram the lid on, keep it on there, and just carry on as if that's not happening. We're taught to suppress our emotions. We're taught to learn what is acceptable and what's not acceptable according to other people. So we start,
Yeah.
exactly. So we start suppressing ourselves and what we like and what we don't like and everything like that. So many of us are discouraged to talk about our emotions and all of that. We don't get this in schools. Maybe in schools, some schools now they're starting to do this. Doubt it. Doubt they're doing it very well anyway.
Oh, yeah.
We don't learn about our emotions, like what they feel like, the groups of emotions, and certainly not what to do with them and how to deal with them. So we're not taught how to, for example, set boundaries and things like that and go, well, this is what you like, so you're all right to do this, and this is what you don't like, so you're all right not to do that. So what happens when we're ignoring this stuff is that the emotional brain will then send a signal because its job is to keep us happy, keep us right, and keep us emotionally safe. If we're ignoring that, it keeps going, it keeps trying, so it'll keep trying in different ways. And it'll send danger signals to the hypothalamus in the brain. And what that does, the hypothalamus is the part of the brain which controls everything in the body. So it's responsible for homeostasis. So keeping all the systems in the body nice and regulated. And that then communicates with the amygdala. There's communication between the amygdala and the hypothalamus. But the hypothalamus will switch on stress response, so fight or flight mode. And as most of us know, this is designed to be a short-lived response. So it's designed to kick in when there's a physical threat. So when a saber-toothed tiger comes running down the street, your fight or flight mode kicks in and we go, right, and even before we think about it, we're running in the other direction. So we're flooded with all these chemicals, these stress chemicals, basically, and they're good for us and helpful for us in short-lived scenarios. So if we have to fight something off or take flight from it, so that's why it's fight or flight. And what then happens is danger passes. If we survived, we know that danger has passed, and then that switches back off again. So the flow of chemicals stops, and then everything becomes regulated again.
Mm-hmm.
But this same response happens in response to emotional threat. So the same thing is happening when we're emotionally unsafe, when we feel emotional threat. And then if we are in that kind of space of feeling emotional danger or unsafety for a prolonged period of time, it's almost like the hypothalamus goes into overdrive, so it just keeps going.
Yeah.
So the whole communication system between the amygdala, the hypothalamus, all the systems of the body, the HPA axis, the immune system, all of that, it just goes a bit nuts, basically. And we're then flooded with these chemicals that we're not then using up because we're not running away from anything, we're not fighting anything. Also, it's like a biochemical marathon that the body is running. And because all of the systems in the body are affected, that's why we have such a wide range of symptoms as well. So from brain fog to nerve pain, muscle pain, fatigue, all of that sort of stuff. The whole list of symptoms that can appear. That's the reason for it, is this connection from the hypothalamus being in overdrive, affecting all of the systems. And that's why fatigue is such a big thing as well, because your body's kind of running this chemical marathon. So sleep isn't gonna fix that.
If you can get to sleep.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's it. Some people will struggle to sleep, and then some people will sleep for 14 hours straight and wake up and still feel exhausted. Yeah.
How can we manage our emotions better to increase our energy?
Well, by recognizing what our emotional issues are, and although it seems like our emotional issues could be this never-ending list of things, they actually come down to very few things. We can kind of boil it all down. And the main ones are meeting our own needs first with enough balance and variety. So actually putting ourselves first and learning what our own emotional needs are. And there are certain kind of categories that we need to be ticking on a regular basis. Um, the other big one is disallowing unfair treatment. So employing healthy boundaries and treating ourselves well and disallowing unfair treatment from other people as well. They're the biggies. And along with them comes, if you're not meeting your needs and you're not setting boundaries, then what you're doing is you're suppressing emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's that emotional suppression that kicks off the danger signal, the alarm bells. Um, so making sure you're not keeping anything in, making sure you're not suppressing anything. This can be positive emotions as well as negative emotions if we're not used to knowing who we are and don't really know what we like because we haven't allowed ourselves to explore these things thoroughly. So reducing overthinking as well, because overthinking is a symptom of it all, but then it can feed back in to creating further symptoms. So it's fun
Yeah,
like that.
that makes sense. It's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's that, again, more self-awareness and then having that emotional safety also.
Yeah, there's the self-awareness and getting to know yourself and knowing what is going to keep me emotionally safe. So, like I said earlier about me realizing my uh, sensory issues. And putting things in place and boundaries in place around that, and knowing that I can probably last a certain period of time in a large shop, like a supermarket or a busy department store or something. And if I start to notice that I'm getting irritated or annoyed, then it's time to get out of there. So knowing what our needs are, so things like we have to have enough fun and creativity in our lives. We have to be constantly learning things because our brain needs the stimulation. Our brains are barely use them. We need more stimulation and we need variety. We need some kind of movement or exercise. We need a certain amount of socializing, whatever works for us individually. We need to be doing the essential stuff. So we need to be working. We need to be doing things like housework and paying the bills and all of that sort of thing, or that sort of stuff, and doing things that feed our soul. These are quite specific. So when you've got that starting point, rather than just sitting going, I wonder what my needs are, when you can actually be looking at these areas, using that to go, actually, I'm not meeting all needs. So when we're not meeting our needs, we're feeling emotionally unsafe because we're not feeling fulfilled or happy, basically.
Right. So how can we focus on something more that we enjoy to what our body allows us to at the moment so we can immediately feel emotionally safe, especially being child free with all the extra stuff coming at us as well, and just the general state of the world at the moment too, because that definitely, I had to delete my Facebook app. I
Yeah,
noticed it was really taking a toll on my mental health.
yeah.
So things like that, or what do you suggest?
Absolutely. One of the first things that I suggest to clients when they start working with me is to guard your input. I haven't watched the news for I don't know how long. I don't watch the news. I know that something's happening that I need to know about. I'll find out about it.
True.
And a lot of people might think that that's ignorant and you should know what's going on in the world, but I know enough of what's going on in the world to know that I don't want to look at it 24/7, because what we have to do is we have to make a distinction between what we can control and what we can't control,
Yes.
because that's anxiety really, really loves that place where we're trying to control all that stuff that we have no control over whatsoever and is not our responsibility, rather than focusing on what is our responsibility and what we can control. I think it's up to us to know what our part in the world is.
Mm.
I can't reach over there and go, well, let's see if we can find you like a you guys another candidate to vote for over there, other than what you have the choice of at the moment. Same here, we've got the same situation here. Just ousted one government for another one. What real difference is it going to make? If we focus on that stuff, it's going to be a bit scary, but we go, well, what can we control and what can't we
Mm.
control? Or we can do this or we can do that, but we can't do it all.
Right.
And we can't take everything on and take the weight of the world on our shoulders. Some people will be activists and out there doing things. I see my part is what I've created my job to be, is helping people
Hmm.
to know that it's okay to be themselves and therefore to be healthy.
Yeah.
And then to have that as a ripple effect that spreads out the way. That's my part. And I think we all have to find what our part is. So that's a major part of it. And it applies to all the practical stuff in your life as well. And well, what can I do? My energy levels aren't going to let me do this. But the thing is, if it's something that's going to meet your needs, it's more likely to give you energy. So it's finding as much as you can that does meet your needs that you can do at the time, that then starts filling you back up and putting energy in. Because one of the biggest myths around CFS and fibro and these conditions is that it's it's an exertion thing. So if I exert myself, then I'm going to get symptoms. Now, these two things might have been associated for good reason at certain times, but that it's not cause and effect. It's always the emotional element, even though you might have experienced these things happening together. It wasn't that you did that and then that happened as a result. There'll always be something else going on at an emotional level that has created the symptoms, even if it then becomes the expectation of it because it's happened so often.
At that point, we're kind of traumatized because it's happened so often.
Yeah, and then the body's in a pattern by that point, and it's going, well, when this happens, we do this. So it's about breaking out of that and having the leap of faith in doing things a bit differently. But the whole idea of kind of pacing and like spoon theory and all of that really relies on thinking about energy as something that we just spend rather than being able to replenish as well.
Okay.
So it's really focused on, oh, well, if I do that, that's going to take that. And if I do that, that's going to take that. And it's like, well, what gives you energy? Let's start there. Turn everything on its head, turn it around, forget your essential to-do list, forget all the things that you think you have to do before you can do something for yourself. Turn all that around, start doing stuff for yourself, put energy into yourself first, and then your capacity for all the other stuff grows. You wouldn't get in your car to drive. Where's a faraway place from where you are at the moment?
I love to go to the mountains, and it's about 45 minutes away.
Okay, no. So you wouldn't get in your car to head out to the mountains and realise that there's no gas in the tank and expect it to get there anyway.
Hmm.
The first thing I need to do is get to the gas station and fill up.
Hmm.
And then I know that I'm going to get to the mountains. And it's the same with ourselves. We have to fuel ourselves. And I think we have kind of been taught that we get all of our fuel and energy from food and nutrition, but we're emotional beings. So we have to fill up at the emotional level and we have to start with that, and everything else comes on top. Because if you're looking after the emotional stuff first as the foundation, that's then going to guide you towards what's going to feel good to eat, how much water to drink. You feel like having this today, and actually, what supplements do I need that are going to help? And it's all these kind of building blocks, but it's on top of the foundation of the emotional stuff. Otherwise, it's not on anything secure, and it's going to keep falling in on itself.
Since you mentioned that, these last couple of weeks, I feel like is a good example. Last week, I had a complete emotional breakdown because I was so anxious. There were a bunch of good and at the presidential debate last week or recently-ish, and I had the bad idea to look at some things about it. And it's like that kind of pushed me over the edge.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, I got to get rid of Facebook. I got to turn off all this stuff for now. Again, like I'm definitely still going to hear about it, no problem. There is the whole ignorance is bliss to a point is really nice. That way it's easier to stay in our lane easier and not be so distracted by everything. But yeah, like you said, what impact, good impact can I have on the people in the world and what I can control? So last week, I was completely emotionally and physically exhausted. So I was in bed most of the week last week.
Yeah.
And then this week, I had a lot of really exciting things happening, like recording this podcast, like the special meeting I had this morning, and a couple other things going on. And I'm probably going to be tired after this, which I don't mind, but it's night and day. It's because I'm so much more emotionally full this week.
Yeah.
Whereas last week, I started to spiral fast
Yeah.
and I could not let myself do that. So I've definitely noticed a difference in how much mentally and physically I've been able to do this week versus last week for sure. That's really interesting. So what is your process you use to help clients get back to living the life they want when they've got their chronic illnesses and so stressed out?
With my one-to-one clients, I have sessions with them, just like this over Zoom. One-to-one sessions, they tend to be weekly to begin with, and they get a copy of all my materials. There's some tools within there. One of the main things is journal questions. I get them to complete every day at the beginning anyway, which is basically some questions around how they're feelings. Always tracking symptoms, but I don't need all the specifics. Like, you've got symptoms, you've got negative emotions, and then asking what's happening in their life. And then a few more things about that day and what's going on in it. And so through this and talking to them, I'm able to help them to pinpoint certain things and to basically connect their symptoms with the emotional issues that are happening on a day-to-day basis. Because our emotional brains in the present moment,
Mm,
although we've formed these patterns throughout our entire lifetimes, it's the fact that they're still playing out in our current day-to-day that is making the symptoms continue. So when you start dealing with them in the present moment, that's them getting dealt with here, and it
mhm.
satisfies the emotional brain because we're feeling better in the moment. Really help people to identify what's happening in their lives and then giving them the guidance and the tools and the support to make the changes that they need to make, whether it's about how to bring in certain needs and build on them, or setting boundaries in order to be able to do that. This allows your treatment from others and themselves. It's that kind of coaching process. And as they start to deal with this stuff more effectively today, they feel more emotionally safe. Fight or flight mode switches off, the nervous system calms down, symptoms go away. That's when people follow the process as quickly as they manage to do it. That's as quickly as symptoms can go. Obviously, some people find change harder than others, so some people get through it quite quickly. It takes other people a bit longer.
Yeah, but it's wanting that change too. You want to stay stuck where you are and feel miserable, or you want to actually do what you can control and start with this.
Exactly.
So, what's one thing you want everyone to take away with today?
But if you have any of these chronic conditions, you don't have to put up with it. You don't have to just try and limit the effects or kind of manage symptoms and stuff like that. And you can actually recover. It's entirely possible to recover and get back to living a normal life without the fear of symptoms.
That's such a relief and completely different than what we're normally told by everybody. And so, it's such a relief in a way. There's actually hope.
Yeah,
Don't have to live like this.
yeah.
Yeah. And how can we connect with you?
I'm on Facebook and usual places, Facebook, Instagram. All my links are on my website, which is officialsusanmurray.com.
And I'll link everything down below as well. All right. Thank you so much, Susan, for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, follow, share your thoughts in the comments, and send this to a child-free friend who it could be useful for. You can connect with me on social as Productively Child Free. And remember, you're not alone. Until next time, stay amazing and live life your way.